Hello, all you Basai masters out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Hey.
If you've been listening, you may have noticed I've been playing around with the music a little bit, so hopefully you enjoyed whatever that was that I just played.
You're like, I haven't decided what it's going to be yet, but it'll be something.
Some dubstep or something. But
nice.
Today we're going to recap and discuss Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 3, Looking for Parmak in All the Wrong Places. Alternate title, Parmak When the Pants Fell.
Okay.
Just let the many layers of the badness of that joke wash over you.
There's so many.
Just in case this is your first time watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode, but all other spoilers are on the table.
Including for completely unrelated properties and movies.
Yes.
Maybe especially those.
Yeah. Looking for Parmak in All the Wrong Places, which is a title that will not fit on any thumbnail or anything I make, but whatever.
Apparently, it is the third longest title in all of Star Trek television history.
Oh, wow.
With the other two, the first longest being the original series episode, For the World is Hollow, and I Have Touched the Sky.
It's a pretty long one.
Yeah, and the second longest is from Star Trek Discovery, The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the line from Did you ever watch Andor?
No, I have not yet. It's on my list on Disney Plus, but I have not.
It's the line is how's it go? It's like the axe forgets, but the tree remembers, or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I've heard something about that.
Anyway, this episode originally aired October 14th, 1996. It was written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by Andrew J. Robinson.
Yep. It was, apparently he's actually kind of a renowned director in some sense. Like this is the first time that, let me read all this to make sure I get the information correct. This is the first television episode directed by Andrew Robinson. Oh, there's a bug on my monitor for some reason. So yes, the first television episode directed by him. However, he had won 2 Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle Awards for directing theater. One for Samuel Beckett's Endgame and one for Harold Pinter's The Homecoming.
Nice. I mean, I felt like it was a very fun and playfully directed. Although I felt there were a couple of kind of awkward moments, but
yeah, apparently he'll go on to direct 2 episodes of Voyager, but the fact that that's it, like, I'm like, so did they not like it? Like, was Ira Stephen Bear like, your directing on Deep Space Nine was not up to snuff. Sorry, we don't.
Is he the actor turned director that Rick Berman didn't like?
Maybe.
That we talked about that one time.
Yeah, who knows? It's still a mystery.
Yeah.
Who Rick Berman didn't like, but yeah, I feel like if you're gonna have cast directing, like he's a good possibility since apparently he's got experience directing already, and
Sure.
I mean, theater directing is going to be probably vastly different from TV directing, but he's also like you don't need him on the show a lot.
Yeah. Just another way to get Andrew J. Robinson a paycheck for the show. When you're not
I wonder when he was such an infrequent player, I wonder if he was on like an episode to episode thing, or if they had him contracted for like 5 episodes a season or something.
Yeah, who knows how all that stuff works. But let's see, diving into this episode, this very horny episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I mean, it really, like, they decided to go all out with the A and B story, both revolving around people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, was Loxana Troy on the station?
Yeah, secretly.
With that weird virus, and we just didn't know it?
She's on vacation and just, didn't want to tell anyone.
Anyway, Dr. Bashir is strolling down one of the endless corridors of the Habitat Ring when he notices the unmistakable sounds of marital arguing coming from the front door of the O'Brien residence.
Does he live near O'Brien, or
I was like, what is he doing here?
And I guess Quark also lives nearby?
Yeah. I mean, Quark lives below Odo, right?
We know that.
And also across from Rom.
Oh, he does live across from Rom. I'd kind of forgotten
right?
that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure someone has like a map of where everybody's quarters are, but
on some level, I think Bashir just like strolls by O'Brien's quarters now and then. Like, maybe I'll run into him.
Yep. But yeah, so he leans into the door for a good listen, but is caught by Quark, who does not buy his just stretching my neck routine.
Nope.
Good try, though. Quark encourages him to be more discreet, which apparently means stepping 1 foot further away from the door. He's like, no, we gotta stand over here. Then Quark begins using his Ferengi super hearing powers to give a blow-by-blow. However, Bashir is shocked when Keiko O'Brien walks right down the hall past them and into the quarters. That's when Quark clarifies that it was Kira and the Chief arguing.
The other O'Briens.
Yep. About the Chief hiding Kira's spring ball racket, apparently. But to the disappointment of both eavesdroppers, Keiko breaks up the fight. That Keiko.
Now they're in the boring part of the fight.
A boring, well-adjusted person stepped in. Up in the Replimat, Worf talks passionately to Dax about one of his favorite Klingon opera singers, leading Dax to remark on how weird it is that a guy who has spent most of his life outside the Klingon Empire is so obsessed with traditional Klingon stuff.
Yeah, because she's not impressed with that opera singer. And he's like, oh, but I like traditional opera singers.
I was just like, so you noticed that too, huh, Dax? I think maybe a few of the viewers also have picked up on that.
And also, she uses the same sentence, essentially, to come on to him in a super obvious way. And he completely, breezes right past him.
Yes. There's much Worf can't take a hint in this episode. Speaking of which, Dax tries to use this opportunity to segue into some flirting, but her thunder is stolen when the door to the promenade opens and in walks Grilka. Worf is immediately enchanted and stalks her to Quark's. Dax follows to get a look and tries to use the meh technique to blunt Worf's interest. Then they see Grilka and Quark have a big friendly hug. Worf is perplexed, but Dax is like, oh yeah, I remember that episode now. Which I was trying to remember if Dax was even in that episode.
I was about to say, that should be her first, was I in that episode?
So I pulled up the Memory Alpha and did a search for Dax, and there was no mention, but I did not go back and watch it. Quark and Grilka sit down for a drink, and Grilka compliments his bartending abilities.
Because he remembered the drink that she likes.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a little bit more to bartending than that, but he accepts the compliment.
When she ever ordered, a drink from him, casually, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure their entire marriage and relationship we saw on screen.
Yeah, more or less, right?
But she mentions how Gowron's dumb war against the Cardassians has been costing her a lot of money. And Quark is like, hey, remember who you're talking to. Let me take a peek at those books, see what I can do. Grilka is like, sure.
I guess Grilka had invested in the Klingons not going to war, which may have been a poor decision on her part.
Yeah, that's generally not a sound investment. That's like holding your pumpkin futures till after Halloween, but...
Also, apparently she came all this way just to be because she wanted Quark to look at her books because he's the only bookkeeper she knows, but she can't come out and ask for that because Klingons don't do that, so she had to get him to ask her if he could do it, and she's like, oh, I suppose that my largesse will extend enough to allow you to look at my books.
Yeah. Whatever. Quark is all too happy, so. Then her bodyguard comes up to Quark and he's like, "You better help her with those books, or I'm going to kill you."
Which, geez, I mean, he was being real nice. I don't understand why you need to be like that. But...
Yep, it's Klingons. In Ops, Dax uses her finely honed gossip skills to give Worf a succinct but informative summary of the episode, The House of Quark. Worf is clearly infatuated with Grilka, which Dax diagnoses as Parmach, the Klingon word for love, but with more aggressive overtones.
Like all Klingon words.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume that any word translated into Klingon has more aggressive overtones.
I mean, just the way you say them has more aggressive overtones.
Yeah, there's nothing that you can really say in Klingon that just sounds like nice and friendly.
Well, it's just like they apparently don't have a word for hello.
Uh-huh.
The closest equivalent is like, what do you want?
In the infirmary, Bashir shows Chief O'Brien a piece of durable medical equipment he's developed to help treat Kira's pregnancy sneezing. She just has to rent it for 12 months and then she'll own it.
Which O'Brien then takes a hit of for some reason.
Paradoxically, the device seems to induce sneezing in non-pregnant human males.
Yeah.
So, and don't worry, he's got that MD cert ready to go.
Don't take other people's medicine, dude.
Yeah. The doctor invites the chief for some holosuite fun, but O'Brien turns him down because he has to work through some stuff with Kira. O'Brien is a little surprised that Bashir is up to date on his fighting with Kira, not convinced by Bashir's argument that it's a small station. Because it is actually quite a large station.
And it's like, we had an argument and it didn't leave the quarters, so right. How did you hear about it?
It's like, who's been talking? Bashir gives O'Brien some medicine to treat Kira's swollen ankles, which O'Brien also samples, which is just apparently a habit of his.
Yeah, it's... Like, Julian calls him out on it. Like, are you going to sample all of her medication?
Yep.
And he's like, no, she said it tasted bad. Shifty eyes, shifty eyes.
Right. Then the conversation takes an awkward turn when O'Brien mentions that Kira has a rash on the back of her thighs, which he noticed when he was helping her out of the bath. But he swears he wasn't looking, so...
I really feel like this is where it starts extending into weird territory.
Right.
I feel like. I'm just saying.
Well, at first it kind of sounds like he's talking about himself, but then it gets even weirder.
Also, have we ever even seen a bath on the station?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about sonic showers sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we know the Federation ships have sonic showers.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see if we know anything about DS9 bathing facilities. Yeah, okay. I can't find any information on whether DS9 has bathtubs.
Well, apparently it does.
Oh, Mirror Kira had a bathtub.
Ooh, oh, yeah. Or maybe you can go to, like, the holosuite and take a bath or something?
Oh, I'm sure you can, yeah. We saw them visit the Hubitian baths or whatever in the holosuite before.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anyway, Bashir asks how Keiko feels about O'Brien helping Kira in the bath, and O'Brien says she's fine with it. But as we will soon see, I think Keiko might actually have some kind of fetish.
It's so weird. Like I was thinking, like, okay, it's weird that you're helping her out of bath. Like, was Keiko just not around to do that part? But after what we see later, it's just like, it was Keiko like, hey, you should go help her out of the bath. I'm so tired. And then she's like hiding, but like peeking in there to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you watched the Fall of the House of Usher.
No.
There is a character on that with a very similar fetish. Worf goes to Quark's to perform a mating display in front of Grilka, which bears strong similarities to 5th grade human mating displays. He walks past a bunch of empty chairs to where Morn is sitting. Morn is either displaying some really troubling alcoholic behavior or is just passive-aggressively trying to get a bartender's attention. But either way, Worf grabs him and throws him out of his chair, which is kind of a funny shot.
Was his glass empty? I didn't notice.
Yeah, his glass is empty, and he's like sticking his finger in his glass, trying to get like a like a last drop that he can lick.
Okay, yeah, that's slightly disturbing.
But also keeps looking around for a bartender and like pointing to his glass. So I'm like, okay, so do you have a problem or are you just getting bad service?
I think Lesepians might just be like Bender on Futurama, where they run off of alcohol.
It's like they get drunk when they haven't had. Yeah,
exactly.
Then Worf is like, "Ew, what stinks? Oh, it's you, Grilka's bodyguard. I'm gonna beat you up for stinking so bad." But then Grilka's old butler guy is like, "Okay, stop." And then he pulls Worf aside. He's like, "You and Grilka is just not gonna happen. She's just not into dishonored guys. Also, she's way too Klingon for you."
Yeah, he really. I mean, that was not the way to try to get Worf off of the thing, to be like, "Yeah, sorry, you're just not Klingon enough. You don't know Klingon girls, my man. I don't know what to tell
you." Later, Worf engages in the time-honored human tradition of complaining about your love life to the person who obviously has a crush on you.
Yep.
Then Quark strolls in to the mess hall of the Defiant, the most advanced battleship in Starfleet, which got stolen one time.
And which, like, Quark has messed around on before.
Right.
And it's just, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He snuck on before and changed the replicators.
Yeah, you shouldn't, there should be like an anti-Quark setting on the airlock at this point.
I mean, it's just like in the real world where any foreign civilian bartender can stroll right into the mess hall on the USS Nimitz.
I do like that the show seems to have forgotten, because the guy's like, "Have you ever like courted a Klingon woman?" And he's like, "No." And it's like, well, but except for that one that you like, wanted to marry. Although she wasn't like super Klingon. She was half Klingon and raised by humans, so I guess maybe that just doesn't count.
I forgot about that. I was like, or I was thinking about that, but I was like, well, how did that work? Like, but anyway. Quark has scored a date with Grilka and seeks Dax's advice. You see, he's never been satisfied with the unconsummated nature of his brief marriage to Grilka and feels this is his second chance at, Dax starts giving Quark some pointers, and then Worf suddenly goes into full Cyrano de Bergerac mode.
Yep.
And outlines a big romantic gesture. So you gotta, like, get a freshly killed leg of some animal and then take it into her quarters and, like, use it to sweep everything off her table and then slam it down there.
A Lingta or whatever.
Which I don't know where he's going to get a freshly killed Lingta, but...
Yeah, like, you tell the replicator to make it real fresh.
Yeah. It's like, make it like it was just killed. Dax figures this will either result in success or Quark getting all his bones broken.
Which is really a win-win for the
show. Quark is a little nervous, but I guess he decides he's just got to see Grill naked before he dies. He takes off and leaves unattended down the corridors of the Defiant.
I'm sure it's fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Then we get one of the most uncomfortable scenes in Star Trek history, in which, for 2 solid minutes, Chief O'Brien gives Major Kira an intimate massage while engaging in increasingly romantic and sexy talk, while Keiko watches and weirdly goads them on.
She's like, "Oh yeah, those massages are real good, huh?"
She's like, "Oh, you gotta go deeper. Oh no, you gotta make it hurt." But suddenly Miles and Kira both realize how weird this is and back off.
Yep. They're it's fun the moment that they're like, "Oh wait, this is weird."
Right. Like when she was laying down in her nightie in front of me and I was like massaging her calves, that's about the time I would have noticed there's like some weird sexy undertones here, but whatever. Back in Worf's living room, aka the bridge of the Defiant.
It's just so, like, you expect like a battle to start and like Worf's like socks are laying on top of the captain's chair.
It's like, yeah, it's just like my chair. It just has all my like shorts and shirts and stuff piled on top of it. But Worf is enjoying some Klingon opera when suddenly there's Quark on the bridge of the Defiant.
Yeah, not even just the mess hall where you're like, okay, maybe I can, but no, just straight on the bridge.
Oh yeah.
And Worf doesn't know he's coming, so it's not like he had to ring a bell to get in or something. It's
right. Yeah. And Worf isn't outraged or disturbed. He's just a little embarrassed that Quark saw him, enjoying his favorite music. But Quark recounts his date with Grilka, which that would have been a fun scene to see, but whatever.
Yeah, no. They would have had to get that Lingta beast leg. Somebody would have been like, cruelty to animals, you killed a Lingta beast.
No Lingtas were harmed in the making of this episode. But the date was mostly a success, thanks to Worf's advice. Quark feels like he's really close to unlocking Grilka's heart, if you know what I mean. To that end, he needs more advice from Worf. So Worf and Dax begin training Quark in a holosuite simulation of apparently the most romantic battle in Klingon history.
Yep.
Quark struggles with the sword fighting, but the prospect of unlocking Grilka's heart, end quote, is a powerful motivator. Especially after Dax goes up to him and does this little sound.
That's how you really get it going.
Yeah. Why didn't she just do that to Worf?
I think she practically does
at
the end of the episode. So.
In the security office, Odo complains to Kira about Chief O'Brien's being behind on his upgrades to Upper Pylon 3. I mean, you can barely have a good picnic up there.
Is Chief O'Brien literally the only engineer on the station? Yeah. It's crazy.
Kira defends O'Brien as being very busy, which I have strong doubts about, based on stuff that happens later in the episode.
Well, yeah, we get like a whole thing where he comes in, he's like, oh yeah, it's slow in ops today or whatever. I'm like, well, why don't you get to work on Upper Pylon 3, my dude?
Yeah, come on, what's going on? Odo, with great relish, teases Kira about her sudden fondness of, quote, Miles. So I was like, oh, I didn't know you were so into Miles. Meanwhile, Quark's second date with Grilka seems to have gone well. After the battle, they sit down for a drink, where Quark sprinkles in a little bit of Ferengi-style romance, calling Grilka an object of great value that he'd wish to acquire.
Yeah, it's almost a big misstep.
But she's into it.
Well, she's not for a second, and then he kind of turns it around and like makes it a little more romantic, and she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she's like, all right, I can dig it. I can go along with this. Which sends her bodyguard into a rage. He flips over the table and challenges Quark to a fight. To the death.
As opposed to, those Klingon fights where they don't do that.
I challenge you to Voshbo. It is Klingon arm wrestling.
Klingon paintball.
You must have a team of at least 3 other guys. And we will meet in the woods.
Apparently both of these Klingon dudes in this episode have been they're recurring Star Trek people. Like... Thopak,
we definitely saw that butler guy in the first Grilka episode, right?
I don't remember him being in that one, but maybe. Hold on. I'll look that up. Tumek is the butler guy's name, and Tumek was in... he officiated at Grilka and Quark's Brechtal ritual. So yes, we did see him there.
Okay, right. Yeah.
But yeah, this guy has shown up... let's see. He's got a history in Star Trek. He was Galt in the original series, The Gamesters of Triskelion.
Sure.
And then he plays that shadowy, you only see his eyes, Cardassian informant of Odo's that had gotten a facelift or whatever. And then he will later be a Sona officer in Insurrection, a Vulcan master in an episode of Voyager, and a Suliban doctor in an episode of Enterprise.
Nice.
So yeah, that guy's all over the place. And the other guy, like Topak, the bodyguard, has that actor's been in several things also, which I think one of them fairly recently. Let me load this. So he was a boy in an army helmet in an original series episode. He is Cadet Foster in The Search for Spock.
Oh,
he's
wow.
Topak in this one. And he's Ramataclon in... has that episode of Deep Space Nine happened yet? He is a Jem'Hadar in an episode that has not happened yet. So I guess, no, that wasn't recent.
Nice. Cool.
Also, that Phil Morris, the guy who played Topak, he auditioned for the role of Sisko originally.
Oh, wow.
But they turned him down for being too young.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So back at the O'Brien house, the chief is off work 2 hours early, possibly, as we mentioned, shedding light on why those upper pylon upgrades are taking so long. Miles and Keiko share a romantic moment, but then Kira walks in, worn out from work or something, and Keiko immediately starts in on the, hey, you want to get a massage for Miles? Maybe while I watch or something? And maybe none of us need clothes. I mean, we'll see where it goes. Kira's like, no, and actually I'm going down to Bajor for a few weeks. And Miles is visibly relieved.
He's like, that's a great idea.
Yeah. He's like, oh, thank goodness. But Keiko was like, oh no, you should go with her. And maybe take a video camera in case anything happens. I don't know. Just, spitballing here. Kira and Miles try to resist, but are overwhelmed by Keiko's weird persistence.
Well, and then, she's like, wait, have you two been fighting again? Is that the reason you don't want to do this weird thing that I'm asking you to do?
Right.
And then they have to be like, oh, if we don't do it, it'll look like we've been fighting.
Right. They're playing right into Keiko's fantasies here. Back in the Defiant mess hall, Worf, Dax, and Quark try to come up with a plan for Quark's duel with the bodyguard. Was it Topak or whatever? Tupac?
Yeah. Tupac? Yeah, exactly. Tupac.
Tupac Klingon. Quark is apparently so overwhelmed with desire for Grilka that he's willing to lay his life on the line in this fight.
Yep. It's true love or something. I'm sure that they will be together for eternity.
Right. I can't wait for Grilka to become a series regular.
Yep.
I'm so glad she turned down that romantic interest role with Odo for this one episode. Unfortunately, it's decided that Quark's tried and true method of throwing away his sword and daring his opponent to kill him probably will not work in this situation. And Worf doesn't have any secret code words or handshakes to help either.
I like this idea. That's like, oh yeah, if you're in a fight to the death, here's the secret. Let's both be friends and give up handshake.
Right. You just say Tubal Cain and go in.
Tubal Cain?
So then she picks up her paddle, or he picks up his paddle and walks off.
Exactly.
But Dax has an idea. And boy, is it a classic of a Dax idea. See, apparently the technology from the movie Gamer exists in the Star Trek universe.
Oh man, the movie Gamer. I haven't thought about that oh no.
What a great movie.
Images of Dexter as the villain are flashing back into my brain.
Milo Ventimiglia as character whose name I will not say.
Oh, I'd forgotten that too. Oh my gosh. And then like two of the stars from Psych have a weird random cameo.
Cameo from Lassie and what's her face.
Oh my gosh.
Great movie.
Man, where can I stream? I can watch that on Netflix apparently. All right. I know what I'm doing after this.
He was going straight to Just Watch as soon as I said that. So yeah, Worf can use this to control Quark's body and win the fight for him. And they practice in a cool synchronized fight scene, which I bet was probably a pain in the butt to shoot, but...
Well, apparently, yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be, but, like, Armin Shimmerman is quoted in here as being, like, he does his own stunts and stuff for these fight scenes, and he's like, yeah, I practiced at home with the Batleth for 10 days before shooting the scene. I got pretty good with the Batleth, actually. And then, because of how the end of the fight goes, he also worked with a mime to help him make it look like the Batleth had a mind of its own at the end of the fight.
I just say he did pretty good.
Yeah,
with that acting like he was mind controlled. The effect was pretty good. So good for him. Like commitment to his craft.
Yeah, that is some commitment, I have to admit.
I mean, these guys are professionals. They deserve to get paid or whatever. But yeah, Quark goes off to do some stretches or something and gives Dax and Worf a minute alone. Dax asks Worf again what he sees in Grilka, and he waxes poetic about her eyes being like stones and stuff. And then Dax is like, meh, sounds boring. Don't you want someone fun? Maybe someone with like spots or something? But Worf somehow fails to pick up on these signals. When Quark shows up for his fight, remote controlled by Worf, and it goes well for a while until Worf accidentally chops off part of his mind control gizmo.
Yeah, he gets a little too fancy with swinging the batleth around and chops off the thing that comes off so quickly and cleanly that I'm like, well, that was clearly designed to break off.
Right. Well, no, that's just how sharp the batleth is.
Oh, right, yeah.
So then Quark stalls with a speech that Ronald D. Moore wrote while staring at his aquarium. Well, luckily Dax is able to get the thingy fixed, and they're back in business.
So the note in here is that there's an intentional lack of explanation for how this virtual control device works. Like Ronald D. Moore is like, look, we can't stop here and have an explanation of why Worf can remote control Quark. Dax invented it. Like this is completely new. Dax invented technology. I don't care about explaining it to the viewers. We just buy the premise and we move on.
It's so brazenly stupid and out of left field. It's like you kind of just have to roll with it.
And I mean, I'm sure this never would have been useful at any other point in the show that we could have come back to this technology, but whatever.
No. She destroyed the prototype, then had Dr. Bashir erase her memories of how it works.
Gone forever.
So after defeating the bodyguard, Quark/Worf pick up his sword and hand it to Grilka. Grilka is impressed and fires the bodyguard, I guess for getting beat in a fight with a Ferengi bartender.
I mean, it doesn't speak well for your bodyguarding ability, you have to admit.
And once Grilka and Quark are alone, Grilka initiates what I will describe as Klingon choke sex.
It's interesting that Worf is he's such an amazing warrior that he can adapt his fighting style to someone much shorter and less strong than him and still have it work.
That's just how awesome Worf is. Yep. Cease your questions. Worf, however, is upset at successfully helping Quark get Grilka, which then why did you do all that?
I mean, so could he see what was happening during the fight? I guess in order to be able to fight for Quark, he must have had to, right?
Or that's just how good he is.
Could he just, keep that going and continue to control Quark through what happens next?
Remember, what was that kung fu movie where they just close their eyes and run through the fight in their head and see who will win?
That sounds like Sherlock Holmes.
That's just how good Worf is at fighting. So Dax tries the old sometimes you gotta see what's right in front of you move, but Worf is just too dense.
Yep.
So she challenges him to a sword fight. Then when she gets him on the ground, the choking begins. Miles and Kira get on a runabout for their trip to Bajor, and Kira starts describing the incredibly romantic house she booked on Airbnb or something.
No, it belongs to one of her friends.
Sure. Amazingly, the house has a view of the river from every room.
I mean, yeah, I'm now picturing either the river wraps completely around the house, or it's just built in one long line where all the rooms face the same direction somehow.
I mean, I was thinking maybe it's it's on a river in the island, or island in the river.
Oh, that would make sense.
But yeah, it could be just the river does a cool big loop around the house, or I don't know. I want to see this house, and I want to book a stay there because it sounds awesome. It's 20 kilometers from the nearest neighbor or something. I don't know where you could go on the surface of the Earth besides the South Pole, where you'd be 20 kilometers away from the nearest person.
Oh, I bet there's I bet there's big swaths of private property in Texas where
I don't think I don't know. Maybe someone has a big ranch, or I don't know. Anyway, Miles is nope, we're not going there. Then Kira remembers that she has a boyfriend and decides to go hang out with him instead.
Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't choice one. Maybe
right.
Maybe he's not into her now that she's carrying another guy's baby, and so she's trying to.
Maybe it's a
little
little weird, and yeah, they're kind of taking a break while that whole thing resolves itself. I don't know.
It is nice that crew members can just take a runabout for a week or whenever they want.
I mean, it's Kira, so
of the station.
Yeah. They're the cool kids, so they can do it.
Yeah.
Miles and Kira say an uncomfortably romantic goodbye and almost kiss, but then Kira kicks the chief out of the runabout.
Chief, leave.
It's dude, go away. Please make this end. In the epilogue, Quark, Grilka, Dax, and Worf go to the infirmary and have their Klingon choke sex injuries treated, much to Dr. Bashir's unease.
Yeah, he's, I think that it's one of Julian's best moments where he's like, you know what? I'm just going to stop asking people what happened. I'm going to treat them, and then they're going to leave, and, yeah, that's it.
I don't care where these scratches on these parts of the body came from. I'm just, here you go.
And it's funny because it's like, I feel like there's two very different reasons. Like, in the first case, he doesn't want to picture Quark and Grilka having sex, so he's just like, I'm going to pretend that this didn't happen. And then Dax comes in, the girl that he's had a crush on forever with Worf, and he's like, oh,
right.
I don't want to know about this either. I can pretend that they were, having a duel in the holosuite.
Yeah. Worf wonders where he and Dax go from here, and Dax says, I don't know. Let's see what the reaction is on the internet and take it from there. The end. We'll see if anybody writes any letters on the internet.
Internet letters? That's not a thing. So I like the note in here. Like, there's a long thing about like how this episode parallels Cyrano, but we don't need to get into that. The interesting bit is there is no real equivalent of the Jadzia Dax character in the original play, although the character of Labret could be seen as that, as he was Cyrano's very close friend and confidant both in the play and in real life, and thought to be Cyrano's real-life lover.
Okay. So the play doesn't end with him having incredibly rough sex.
I mean,
it just
I didn't read the whole thing, but yeah. Michael Dorn is the one who came up with the idea of doing a Deep Space Nine episode based on Cyrano. So in this case, it wasn't Ira Stephen Bear watching something, a movie late at night.
Yeah, he didn't see like Roxanne on TV.
Apparently.
And be like, oh.
Or maybe Michael Dorn and he both saw the same movie on TV and then came in and Ira Stephen Bear was going to suggest it and Michael Dorn did it first and he was like, oh, okay, I'll let him get away with it.
Right. Yeah, I'll let Michael Dorn have this moment because I've stolen too many movies I saw on TV at this point.
Also, he's way bigger than me, so.
Right.
Also the note about the bit of the conversation where Quark just straight up quotes Edwin Starr's War.
Oh yeah,
and it's so bizarre when it happens that I was just like, why did we do that?
Why not?
Why not? Indeed.
I mean, that's a feeling that lots of people have had, I'm sure.
Armin Shimmerman is quoted as saying, this episode was a great delight for me. Although it was a comic episode, I learned a lot about playing romance from that one episode with Mary Crosby back in the second season. As an actor, I learned that I played it too much with my heart on my sleeve, and that's not true romance. It's just hokum. So I wanted to try new things in my relationship with Grilka, and that turned out much more to my satisfaction. So yeah, he's honing his craft all the time.
Sure. I mean, I'm a little surprised. I mean, Armin Shimmerman's like an old pro. Like, he doesn't play a lot of romantic parts or something.
Maybe he's not getting cast in a lot of things as the romantic lead. Did
he have any like romantic stories in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. I never saw that show, so.
He plays the high school principal, and his main contribution is to like walk in and yell at people, and then when something weird and supernatural happens, he helps cover it up because he doesn't want bad publicity for the school or the city, or I don't know why. But,
sure, yeah. I mean, principals need loving too.
So I'm trying to see what else he was doing before this. I mean, yeah, he really is a working actor here. My goodness. He was in the Reservoir Dogs video game. My gosh. How many people can say that?
How does that video game work?
I don't know. Are you just in the warehouse the whole game?
Press X to cut off ear.
Press X to dance, and then Y to cut off ear during dance.
Do up right trigger to try to deflect suspicion that you're an undercover cop.
Oh gosh. Okay, so his IMDb just goes on and on. I'm not going to scroll through all of that. But yeah, so he's sure. Acting up the romance here, and then you got Terry Farrell saying, "What's with that title? But what happened to easy names like The Quickening or Defiant?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were reading off like that original series episode name.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like back then they had the art of the title down or something.
I mean, I don't know. I went to look at the summary of that episode because I was like, so does that name apply to the episode at all? For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky. The Enterprise discovers a generational asteroid ship on a collision course with an inhabited planet.
Asteroid ship, eh?
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of original series, so I'm not familiar with this one, but
I just think of all those classic like Star Trek and like the Twilight Zone titles that they're just all really memorable, and I don't know.
I mean, they are, yeah. TOS titles. Hold on, let's see. TOS episodes. Let's look at some random titles here. Yeah, Turnabout Intruder, The Savage Curtain, Requiem for Methuselah. Like, these are some pretty memorable titles.
Yeah.
I do have to say.
I mean, they might be bonkers and have nothing to do with the episode, but you're just like, man, Requiem for Methuselah.
The Tholian Web. I absolutely know exactly what episode that is. I think Requiem for Methuselah, isn't that about like a really old guy? Or maybe I'm just assuming that because of the title.
I mean, based on the title. However, Requiem implies Methuselah died.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. We're going to find out more about Requiem for Methuselah now. I do like the first episode of season 3 is Spock's brain, and it is about the quest to find Spock's brain, apparently.
Isn't that like the classically the worst episode of Star Trek?
Yes, I definitely remember having heard something like that. Okay, so Requiem for Methuselah. While the Enterprise searches for the rare cure to a deadly disease, the landing party is confronted by a reclusive man who is willing to kill to preserve his privacy. So I guess this guy, has he just been here a long time? Let's look up. I mean, he's got a Gutenberg Bible and several works of Reginald Pollock.
Oh, wow.
And some paintings by Da Vinci. And this guy's got it all.
Is his name just like Methuselah Smith or something like that?
Flint. I think that must be the guy's name. Yeah, here's Flint. Flint is an immortal human from Earth who lived under several aliases over the span of 6,000 years. During his lifetime, he watched humanity evolve from savagery and barbarism, and he both knew and indeed was some of the greatest minds in Earth's history.
Okay. So he's like Vandal Savage.
Vandal Savage, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
The guy from The Man from Earth. So I guess The Man from Earth.
So let's see. He was Alexander the Great. Was he Socrates? Is that what this is saying? But anyway,
sure.
At one point, the basis for the biblical character of Methuselah. So no, he literally was Methuselah. All right.
So he was the grandfather of Noah. Okay.
And so does he die? Is this a requiem?
I mean, Methuselah died in the Bible, but I guess he just faked that.
Oh, okay. It says he at the end. The summary ends with he's going to devote the time before his imminent natural death to the improvement of the human condition. So apparently his death is coming.
Okay. I'm sure all the people listening already know all about that episode.
I was about to say, yeah, that was a rabbit hole that, me not being a big original series fan, probably everyone else already knows this.
I was like, I know that episode. Get back to the choke sex.
Okay, sorry, Terry Farrell goes on to say, I can hardly remember those episodes anyway, the short-titled ones. It was great to finally have my romance with Worf. The show jumped a little bit to a conclusion. I would have liked to see a little indications along the way in which Worf contemplated whether or not Dax would be a good mate. As it is, it's out of the blue that he's going to go for it with me. He admits his love at the end, and that was like, wow, another jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you think about it, it's like, Worf, yeah, he did kind of go from 0 to 60 really fast on that one.
Yeah, especially since, by his reckoning, like, if you sleep with someone, you have to marry them. So It was just like, I mean, she's been flirting with him since the episode that he arrived. So on her end, it's like, okay, like at this point, she's just so tired of her signals being ignored that she's getting more and more obvious through this entire episode. And he apparently is just like, all right, I guess so.
Yeah. Although I kind of admire Dax's strategy of like, well, it's like, okay, the obvious hints aren't working, so what I'm going to do is stoke Worf's horniness for Grilka and then wait for the perfect moment and then just slip right in there when he's like peaked at that. So I think she might have actually known what she was doing.
I hadn't considered that, but now that you say that, yeah, maybe.
I mean, this is like, high level, getting the person you want techniques.
She's playing 3D chess out there while Worf is playing checkers.
Yep.
So it says, although the A story in this particular episode was a big hit with fans, Ronald D. Moore is more proud of the B story with O'Brien and Kira. According to Moore, that was one of the most real storylines we've ever done. They were flesh and blood people in a very believable situation, reacting believably. So it's just, it's always happening that someone else is carrying your baby that was transferred to them after an accident aboard a shuttlecraft. And when that happens, this is totally the real result.
I mean, I could see it's real that, in a situation like that, you might find yourself spending more time with someone and like seeing them in a different way. But I feel like they were kind of asking for some weirdness with their behavior. Like, hey, I'll help you out of this bath. Oh, is that a rash on the back of your thighs?
Well, and as we pointed out, it doesn't seem like Keiko is helping it not be weird. So
I think Keiko has masterminded this whole thing. I think she saw O'Brien rubbing Kira's shoulders, and then something awakened inside of her.
Like, oh, Kira's about to have to get out of the tub. Oh no, I have to leave for a botany emergency. Will you take care of that? Bye now.
She's like rubbing down the sides of the tub with soap to make it more slippery.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't I get out of this tub?
Oh, actually, no, that reminds me of the episode of Downton Abbey where...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bad things happen because of the soap in the tub.
I'm up to season 5 in my Downton Abbey binge.
Oh.
So...
I think I only ever made it to season 3, and then I, fell off.
Oh, no. I'm going the distance this time. It's like I'm staying up every night till 2, watching Downton Abbey.
Well, they're making new episodes or movies or something, right? So
yeah, they just made a new movie. I don't know, or fairly recently. I don't know what the...
There'll be a third Downton Abbey movie in 2023, yet to be confirmed. Huh, okay,
well,
maybe
that obviously didn't happen, because I'm pretty sure...
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's still a month left in 2023, so we'll see.
It's going to be a surprise drop.
Yeah, because there's only been 2 Downton Abbey movies, right?
I really don't. No.
Okay. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, pervy Keiko.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite topic.
Yeah, in the Fall of the House of Usher, there's a character who likes to hire ladies to come over and do stuff with her husband while she sits there and watches.
Sure.
And he is not into it.
Well, that's unfortunate for him, I guess. The only other note on this episode is Sarah Clofton does not appear in this episode.
Yes.
Honestly, at this point, it's like, maybe that should have been the name of the podcast.
Right.
How accurate would that be? We're never going to get Sarah Clofton on this podcast, so...
We just need to do... That needs to be a segment. The Is Sarah Clofton in this episode segment. Or what is Jake doing this episode?
Who knows what he's doing in this episode,
right?
We see Cisco for 5 seconds in this episode where he comes out, throws his baseball at Dax, makes a weird comment about Worf's love life, and then leaves again.
Well, he comes out, he's like, Parmok, what's that?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
I gotta get paid, so
right.
I'm here.
I'm supposedly the main character of this show, so I guess I gotta make an appearance.
Apparently Sarah Clofton hosts a Star Trek podcast, so...
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Him and Aaron Eisenberg before he passed away.
Yeah.
It's always the number 1 Deep Space Nine podcast that comes up when I try to search for us. So
not us? Oh my gosh, who would have thought?
Can't believe it. I need to put more buzzwords in the description of the podcast, because Deep Space Nine will pull us up, but DS9 will not pull us up.
Oh no,
and it's not acceptable. So I got to do a little bit of what do they call it? SEO to get us to get us higher on those returns.
Just make sure you don't go advertising things that we don't offer, because then you're going to get one of those strikes.
Right. That's, definitely, we can't be doing that.
Don't say Sarah Clofton is going to appear in this episode, because he's not going to.
It's like the show where we always discuss when Sirach Lofton appears.
Yeah, okay. 100% accurate.
Anyway, I guess we can mosey on into the review of this episode.
What do you think?
Okay, so here's my review. This episode is ridiculous. Everybody's way off character except for Dax. In fact, I'd say this is a Dax episode. Might be a hot take there. This is the shit that Dax lives for. I think this episode kind of illustrates how Dax sees the world every day. But aside from that, every single aspect of the plot is stupid and makes no sense. But it is incredibly fun. I give it a captain.
Wow. Okay. That was an interesting trip that we just took.
A little pulling a little data review technique there.
Nice.
What do you think of the episode?
I don't feel that negatively about. I don't know that I think everybody is off character. I think that Worf. It does feel weird. We've never seen Worf be like, I am so horny for some woman. So,
especially just like a random woman that he saw.
Yeah, that walks by
for a split second. Yeah.
But I like the idea of Worf. I like the concept around it, where Worf sees a Klingon woman that he's interested in and tries to romance her, and faces difficulties as a result of not only his banishment but his upbringing.
Sure.
And so I think that's a good character growth sort of thing to offer to Worf. Given how much he hates Quark, like the thing almost writes itself, where you're like, we want Worf to like have a Klingon girl that he really likes, but it needs to be more complicated than that. What Klingon women have we seen in the show? Oh, okay, here, hold on. And so I don't think Quark is particularly out of character either, because he's always after whatever woman is around this week. So
yeah, I mean, I think he's unusually willing to risk his own life.
Yeah, that's
for this woman, but
the Kira O'Brien story, actually, it makes me really uncomfortable.
Right.
In how, I mean, maybe Ronald D. Moore's right. Maybe that is the story that feels the most real, because I'm like, I don't like this. But I agree that it is super fun.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm not gonna go captain with it, but I'm gonna give it a commander, because I really enjoy the episode overall.
Yeah. I agree that Miles and Kira stuff is just, it's like, what is going on here? Like, yeah, I think it feels very uncomfortable, because it's just like, how did we get to this point? And this, I don't know, it just feels very not right to me, but
it feels deeply not right. Yeah, okay.
So what about let's do the title review, I guess.
I don't know that you could get a better title than this one.
Right.
I mean, it's clever. It's appropriate for the episode. Like it's really appropriate for the episode, and it's memorable for sure. Like I can't not remember that one and what episode it goes with. So like this is peak Star Trek title for me.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to hear like Looking for Parmok in all the wrong places and be like, is that the one where Kira gets her foot stuck in the rock?
Is that the one where, like, there's a ship upside down and then Munoz dies, or
like, was Munoz looking for the Parmok? I don't remember. Yep. So yeah, I think it ticks all of our criteria there. So, although, is Parmok a word we've ever heard before, or
I don't. Hold on. Let me Parmok. Let me look in.
It still works either way.
Let's see. We heard Parmakai, I think, or maybe we haven't heard that yet.
Huh.
Hold on. Let me look up. No, it seems like this is the episode where Parmok originates, according to the wiki at least.
So it's kind of a cheat in that they invented this word to slip into the title, but
Well, it's weird to me that it actually works, because obviously we're referencing a song here, and Parmok doesn't even have the same number of syllables as love, but somehow it still works. Like it still flows.
Sure. And I'm pretty sure there is no other TV show with a looking for Parmok in all the wrong places.
No,
episode.
You're not going to ever get that mixed up with another show.
It's like Walker, Texas Ranger.
Well, given what we learned about the weird shit that could happen on Walker, Texas Ranger, it's possible.
Walker takes an assignment on Kronos. Where
it's like Worf comes out of the TV and helps Walker solve a case this week on the strangest crossover in history.
No, Worf is just there. He just shows up in
he's just
20th century
Walker
Texas
universe.
And needs help with something with no explanation. Nobody comments on it or thinks anything weird is going on.
No, yeah. It's just like, and here's this Klingon who's going to help me solve this week's case.
Right.
He's a Texas Ranger. Is he he's a law enforcement guy? I don't know. I never watched it.
I watched that show occasionally when it was on when I was a kid, but I do not remember anything that happened in that show. Apparently there was like magical time travel and stuff, so and then I forgot to do the nitpick of the week. I think just Quark being on the Defiant all the time.
That is definitely worthy of nitpicking this week.
Might be my nitpick of the week. I guess we talked that one to death, so
yep.
We should close it before we come up with any more segues.
Good point.
So, we thank you for joining us today. You can find all our past episodes on all those places where podcasts and stuff are, except for the ones where I haven't put it yet.
Right.
My name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Bye.
We look forward to seeing you for our next discussion, but just remember, don't stand between me and the Parmok.
Wow.
Or in the Klingon choke sex.